This science fiction film with a budget of only $2 million. Although there are not too many special effects scenes, most of the audience agree that this film has pushed the low-cost science fiction film to a new height. The story took place in the near future. The Earth's ecosystem has completely collapsed. For this reason, a large number of giant spacecraft built by human beings fled to Mars. Aniara was one of the largest and most advanced ships. It had a complete ecosystem which can provide sufficient oxygen and fresh food. There were as many as 21 luxury restaurants and a large number of entertainment places. Can meet all the needs of passengers. Laura was the crew of the spaceship. She was mainly responsible for Mima Entertainment Hall. Mima was an artificial intelligence that could pull human thoughts into the virtual world. Release their pressure. At the beginning of the ship's voyage, few passengers visited Mima. After several days' flight distance, the Mars colony still had 23 days' voyage. Passengers looking forward to a new life. But didn't realize that a large amount of space junk was rushing to the spacecraft at an extremely fast speed. In order to avoid this garbage, the spacecraft tilted seriously. Unprepared passengers were also hurt to varying degrees. But compared with what the captain announced next, everything seemed insignificant. In the process of avoiding space junk, the reactor was broken down, causing all the fuel inside to leak. Now, the spacecraft has deviated from the scheduled course. In the absence of fuel correction, they would drift in space all the time. In order to dispel the fear of passengers, the captain put forward a special plan. According to the existing flight path, as long as they passed by a planet, they could use the gravity of the planet to turn around back to the original channel. This process would take about 2 years. After getting a positive answer, passengers could only be forced to accept the reality. A few months later, a small number of passengers began to feel anxious. With the help of flight attendant Laura, they were placed in Mima Hall. Simulate the virtual world through artificial intelligence. Release the stress in their bodies. Faced with the increasing number of passengers, Laura, who was in charge of Mima, began to lose her strength. She asked the astronomer in the dormitory how long it would take for the spaceship to go home. The answer was that the spaceship would never return home. It turned out that this route where they were located, the only few planets had too little gravity. Couldn't pull the ship at all. The reason why the captain concealed the passengers was he just didn't want to deprive everyone of hope of living. Soon, it was 3 years later. Passengers gradually accepted this drifting life. And at the request of the captain, the algae planting scale was expanded, making the spaceship self-sufficient. But passengers must take part in the work. Earn relative money and use it to buy what each needs. Mima Hall, which was originally unpopular. Now it has become everyone's favorite. But it was overloaded for a long time. And Mima was influenced by the negative emotions of passengers. Eventually, the system collapsed and went to self-destruction. Passengers had their own ideas about the damage of Mima. They thought Laura, who was the person in charge, broke it. Seeing that the situation was going to get out of control, the captain put Laura in prison to quell the incident. Time flashed to the 4th year. More and more people have given up hope of returning home. The number of suicides has risen sharply. As a result, the spacecraft was seriously understaffed. So Laura and her friend were released early. The spaceship at this moment was very different from that of a year ago. Because of the lack of spiritual enlightenment, a cult organization spawned in the spaceship. They invited Laura and others to join them. And some kind of communication ceremony would be held every once in a while. Generally speaking, it is having sex between men and women. Laura's friend got pregnant unexpectedly. When the time came to the 5th year, the radio, which had been silent for a long time, was turned on again. The captain announced an important news. They found a giant probe. It was very likely that there was fuel in it. In the 6th year of the giant spacecraft drifting in space, caught a metal probe. Then 6 giant hooks dragged the probe back to the spacecraft. After repeated research by scientific research teams. But the specific material of the probe could not be determined. Also couldn't be sure if there was any fuel inside to start the spacecraft. Maybe this probe was not a human product at all. Once such news leaked, it would inevitably cause a serious blow to passengers. For this reason, the captain decided to hide the truth. Let passengers have the last glimmer of hope. But the astronomer has given up on herself. She believed that everyone on the ship would eventually perish. And constantly spread the talk that the probe was useless. The captain issued a serious warning about this. The astronomer didn't care. After repeated warnings failed, the captain simply shot and killed her. originally thought that this unstable factor had been eradicated. The remaining passengers could continue to live. But fate played a joke on them again. The ship accidentally entered some kind of gravitational wave. The scope was unknown. So the passengers thought they had seen a miracle. Kneel down and pray to bring them back to Earth. But with severe turbulence, unprepared passengers were killed and injured instantly. Nowadays, without enough manpower, even the basic operation of spacecraft was difficult to maintain. In order to keep the only remaining passengers in a good state of mind, Laura, the flight attendant, and her assistant modified a projector, projecting the landscape of the Earth on the outside of the spaceship, hoping to relieve their pressure. Even so, Laura's best friend was overwhelmed. Ended her life with her child. This also made Laura completely lose hope for life. In a twinkling of an eye, 10 years later, the passengers on the spaceship were no longer what they were at the beginning. In recognition of Laura's contribution to the spaceship, she was given a Medal of Honor, but everything seemed meaningless now. 24 years later, the circulation system of the spacecraft completely collapsed. Algae, which provided oxygen and food, also decayed one after another. There were very few surviving human beings. The prolonged darkness left them all blind. Could only gather in the hall to wait for the final end. When the time came to 5.98 million years later, the ship arrived in Lilja constellation. The dazzling light from the star illuminated a dead spaceship. The hopeful passengers had already turned into the dust. They would never see the spaceship pass by one planet, which had the extremely similar blue as Earth. As long as a man wore these sunglasses, the man in front of him would become a skeleton people. But once he took off the sunglasses, the skeleton people became normal again. The man was stunned. He put on his sunglasses again and found that the world has turned black and white. The pattern on the signboard has changed also. There was only one word written on the billboard: obey. The signs on the street all shows very strange words. However, as soon as the sunglasses were taken off, the world was restored to its original appearance. What was going on? The man was puzzled. When he went to the bookstore, he found that the words on the book had become several big words. Stay asleep and obey. The man felt incredible and looked up. Some people showed the appearance of skeleton. Some have not changed. The man wore sunglasses and continued to observe. He saw that among the guests in the high-end hairdressers, a rich woman who has become a skeleton people and bought a lot of luxury goods. And those hard-working waiters and workers were normal. Could this pair of glasses tell which rich people were? Then, the man walked into an upscale supermarket. He was knocked down by an old woman dressed in mink at the door. The man looked over and found that she was also a skeleton people. So he stopped her and began to scold her for being a vampire. The woman was very angry, not because she was scolded, but because the true identity was revealed. She lifted her watch and called her companions urgently. Then many skeleton people came up to the man, trying to argue with him. After seeing this, the man ran away quickly. But in a short time the police showed up. There was no doubt that they were all skeleton people. Fortunately, the man had good fighting skills. Just a while, he got rid of these skeleton police. He also took a pistol for self-defense. Just then, a policeman got up and tried to sneak attack but was shot dead by the man. He took another submachine gun from the car. In order to avoid tracking, the man escaped into a bank. But instantly stunned. Because it was full of skeleton people. At this moment, the man's hatred of the rich was unprecedentedly high. Decided to do good for the world today. He raised his submachine gun and fired indiscriminately at those skeleton people. In an instant all skeleton people were killed. Only to find that there was the last one hiding in the corner ready to tip off. When the man found out, he was about to shoot him. As a result, the skeleton man disappeared suddenly. The man realized that things were not as simple as he thought. The only TV on the construction site was broadcasting everyone's favorite programs. But it suddenly broke down and an old man with white beard gave a passionate speech without warning. He said the Earth now has been occupied by aliens for a long time. And called for human awakening. Rose up and resisted. People didn't listen at all and they thought it was a prank on the TV station. Only worker John noticed the abnormality. He found some people sneaking in and out of the church next to him. John decided to check it out. He found that there were many sunglasses produced in batches. A compartment and a pile of boxes were also found. John was afraid of being discovered, so he quickly restored the secret compartment to its original position and left. In the evening, John saw a large group of policemen raiding the church. Arrested all the people inside. The dormitory on the construction site was implicated. Leveled by an excavator. It turned out that the church is a secret collection of rebel groups. John sneaked into the church when no one was looking. He didn't expect the compartment to be intact. It was not found by the police. So John took a box. Opened it and found it was a box of sunglasses. He took one and threw away the box. He didn't expect to discover the secret of aliens after wearing glasses. Others couldn't see the alien disguise. Still thought they were just like normal people in the Earth. However, aliens have already penetrated into all aspects of the human world. After John killed those aliens at the bank. Now he has become a wanted criminal all over the world. He could only escape all the way. John took a woman named Mary hostage. And hid in her home. John told her about the aliens. But Mary didn't believe it at all. Simply thinking that John was just a sick murderer. Now it was only superficial obedience to him. Mary said she worked in a TV station. John was very excited to hear this. Because the electromagnetic wave system which can control the aliens was located at TV station. Mary just thought he bullshitted. Taking advantage of his inattention pushed him to fall from the house. John rolled straight down the hillside. Fortunately, he survived. Then he went to the construction site to ask his friend Mike for help. But Mike already knew that John became a wanted man now. Even if John explained the ins and outs. Mike still didn't believe him. John had to take sunglasses and wanted Mike to wear them and have a good look at the real world. But Mike insisted on refusing. They didn't agree with each other and began to fight. In the end, John was slightly better. Forcibly put sunglasses on Mike. And dragged him to the street to have a look. Mike really saw a lot of skeleton people in the street. The world also turned black and white, then he only understood John's series of strange actions before. And also knew why he was wanted. Mike was shocked to find that the world was full of aliens. But he could only see through a special kind of sunglasses. After knowing the truth, he wouldn't go back to work. Hid in the hotel directly with John. Thought about the countermeasures in the future. At this moment a strange man came straight in. Handed them a little note. And said that it was the place of tonight's rally. Told them to keep it a secret. In the middle of the night they entered the secret base according to the address on the note. They were wearing sunglasses, looking around. Made sure there were no aliens here before relaxing their vigilance. The staff gave them contact lenses. And brought them the weapons. A bald man gave John a watch seized from aliens. In case of danger, this watch could transmit him to other places. That strange man was also here. It turned out that he was the scientist who invented those sunglasses. He believed that aliens were plundering human civilization. And tried to control human beings and occupied the earth. Then he said he was very happy. The rebels added 2 more members, John and Mike. Aliens have been using radio to control the people at the bottom. The way to defeat them was to destroy the machines that emit radio waves. But they didn't know where the tower was at present. At this time the girl named Mary appeared. She knew where the tower was. Because she worked in TV station. She has seen the tower before and apparently Mary had seen the world in sunglasses. Knew the truth about aliens. So she apologized to John for her previous actions. And offered to help them. However, before she could tell the exact location of the launch tower, the alien armed forces arrived. This new stronghold was quickly destroyed. While John and Mike fled all the way. According to the watch, they went to an underground base. It happened that this was the secret base used by aliens to control human beings. A drunken old man appeared. He thought John and Mike were 2 of his own. Took the initiative to lead them around. Finally went to the teleportation site leading to the alien home. And found the alien signal transmission center. Without hesitation, they decided to seize this opportunity to overthrow alien rule. They pulled out guns and attacked aliens to fight. But after all, they were too weak and soon became the targets of the alien legion. They fled to the top of the base. And ran into Mary. John ran away with her. But didn't expect Mary to choose aliens. She took out a gun and pointed at Mike's head. He was shot to death by Mary. and then went behind John. Pointed a gun at him and forced him to submit. Unexpectedly, John struck first. Shot quickly to kill her, and then he prepared to eliminate the launch tower. But he was unfortunately shot, but he didn't give up. With the last strength. Completely destroyed launch tower. After lost the signal from the tower, people on the Earth were no longer blinded and finally saw the true faces of those aliens. The plan of occupying the Earth by aliens has been failed after all. The movie ends here. Movie's name is They Live, which is a classic science fiction movie in 1988. The alien setting inside reveals many things. Those who are interested can watch the original film.